Congratulations, one draft down, only 3 to go. As I said early in the course, an important part of the writing process is reflection. Before jumping into your second essay, I encourage you to take a few minutes and reflect on the first one. What went well as you were writing? Was there a brainstorming activity that you found helpful? Did you find a topic that you enjoyed? Don't dwell too much on what you struggled with, but do note it. If you left the essay too late in the week or didn't ask questions that could have helped, try to adjust your process this time around. Try new brainstorming activities or writing strategies. One of the goals for this course is to find out what works best for you. This week you'll be writing a value argument. Your purpose, audience, tone, and design will all stay the same. The only thing that's changing is the genre. The goal of a value argument is to ask whether something has more overall positive or negative value. A basic form of this argument is a review. Is it good or bad? For this essay, though, you'll be looking at things with a little more nuance. Good and bad isn't always that easy to decide. Most things in life rest in a gray area. Your readings for this week, for example, focus on the story of Beauty and the Beast. Growing up, that was one of my favorite stories, heavily influenced by the Disney version. It's probably unsurprising that a book nerd like me would feel a connection to Belle, who is always reading and dreams of a multi-story library. I really wanted that library. However, more recent criticism has pointed out that while Belle dreams of a world beyond her tiny village, she actually ends up just down the street, married to a man who kidnapped and threatened her. It's not exactly a meet cute. Does this erase the benefit that tiny nerds like me got from seeing a super smart Disney princess as a role model? No, of course not. But it does beg the question, does the positive value of a bookish Belle outweigh the problematic message that the film sends about fixing abusive men by being pure and loving? Maybe. And that's the point of a value argument. You have to weigh the positive things against the negative things and decide which side of the scale we end up on. Now, like most things, Beauty and the Beast isn't all positive or all negative. If I were making a claim one way or the other, as you'll be doing in your discussion board, I would need to acknowledge both sides. Since I know that not everyone in my audience will agree with me, it would be foolish to pretend that there's no opposing viewpoint. Instead, you want to bring in the other side of the argument as a counter-argument. That's when you acknowledge other claims thoughtfully and fairly, and then explain why your claim is still stronger. When you are doing this, be careful of the language that you use. If I were arguing for a positive value of Beauty and the Beast, for example, and I say that anyone who disagrees is stupid or a horrible person, the people who disagree with me probably won't listen very long. And those are the people that I need to listen because the other folks already agree with me. For this week's essay, you'll be choosing a narrative that is shared in our society. A narrative is essentially just a story we tell, true or fictional. For this essay, you'll be using 2 sources, one primary and one secondary. I posted another video that will review how to identify different kinds of sources. The primary source that you'll be using will be the narrative that you're arguing about. Just like last week, there are a lot of options. You can choose a fairy tale or myth, a book, a movie, a TV show, a social narrative, or stereotype. Pretty much any kind of story will work. But you do need a primary source that explains that story. You'll also be using another source, the secondary source, that presents someone else's ideas about your topic. This source needs to be credible, meaning it has to have a reliable author and good information. No anonymous source is permitted. But it can be written for either a general or a scholarly audience. Whenever you use a source, there are 4 basic steps you need to follow. First, introduce the source. You need to tell us where the information came from and let us know that it's credible. Second, you need to give us the information. You can quote the source by using the actual language, you can paraphrase by taking their ideas and putting them into your own words, or you can summarize what they say. No matter how you present the information, the third step is to cite it. Anytime you use information that did not spring from your own brilliant little brain, you need to cite it, both in the text using parentheses and at the end of the essay in a works cited list. That includes background information, history, statistics, or arguments. Any information that's not your own original idea needs a citation. Using someone else's information and not including citation both in text and at the end of the text counts as plagiarism and will result in a failing grade for that assignment. The 4th step to using sources is to discuss them. Don't just drop something into your essay and assume that your readers will get it. We won't. You need to discuss and explain how this information supports your claim. I've posted a step-by-step guide in your course materials module if you need to review these steps later. Whatever story you pick, the goal is to argue whether it has overall positive or negative value, and you do have to pick. You need to state this claim in a thesis, and then use your sources and your own brilliance to persuade us that you're right. You also have a critical reading assignment that will provide examples of value arguments, and I've posted an optional TED Talk that is arguing in this genre as well. In addition to your draft, discussion board, and critical reading assignment, you also have a weekly writing activity that will focus on organizing your ideas. Be sure to complete this before writing your draft. It will be a lot more useful that way. Do your best, and remember that I'm here if you need me.